Hey there movie lovers, welcome back to Rocky Watches Movies. Today we're hitting the streets of Turin with one of the coolest heist films ever made, The Italian Job from 1969. With its iconic Mini Coopers, unforgettable one-liners and Michael Caine at his absolute best, this British classic redefined the crime caper genre. But behind the gold heist and the swinging 60s style lies a treasure trove of fascinating behind-the-scenes stories, daring stunts, and little-known facts that might just surprise you. So buckle up, cue the Self-Preservation Society, and let's race into 20 things you never knew about The Italian Job. The screenplay was originally set in London and intended to be a television series. However, the scale of the production proved too ambitious for British TV at the time, so the script was purchased for a feature film instead. The setting was then moved to Turin, chosen for its advanced computer-controlled traffic monitoring system, the most sophisticated in Europe. Milan had initially been the preferred location, but the producers soon discovered that obtaining a filming permit there would be impossible. Despite the surge in fame the Mini enjoyed thanks to the Cooper S being featured in the film, the company initially wanted nothing to do with the production. The British Motor Corporation refused to donate any Coopers, even though Fiat eagerly offered several 500s. Director Peter Collinson, however, reportedly felt that using Fiats wouldn't be British enough. Fiat ended up supplying nearly every other car seen in the film other than the Minis. In the end, the British Leyland Motor Corporation was only willing to supply older Mini models for the production. Producer Michael Dealey remarked that BLMC only agreed to sell them 3 Minis at trade price, and the other 30-odd they bought themselves. They wanted bonnet straps, the big fog lights, and all the usual extras you see in the film, but they weren't interested in anything like that, so the production team did all the upgrades. As luck would have it, the city of Coventry was in the midst of having its piping system completely redone during the film's production, making it an ideal location for shooting. As a tribute to its role as a notable filming site, the Coventry Transport Museum now features a mock-up of a Mini Cooper S emerging from one of the sewer tunnels. Paramount Pictures studio chief Robert Evans originally had his sights set on Robert Redford to play the role of Charlie Croker. At the time, Redford was fast becoming one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, thanks to his charisma and all-American appeal. The studio believed his involvement would give The Italian Job greater international appeal, particularly in the United States. However, while Redford undoubtedly possessed star power, the producers ultimately felt that his clean-cut image didn't quite fit the cheeky, rebellious charm required for the role. Also, screenwriter Troy Kennedy Martin had originally wanted Nicole Williamson to play Mr. Bridger, a character he envisioned as tough as nails and completely in command of every situation. However, director Peter Collinson offered the role to Noel Coward instead, a decision that significantly altered the tone of the character. This film is, above all, a celebration of cars and driving, yet, ironically, Michael Caine couldn't drive at the time it was made, and is never really seen behind the wheel. The only moment in which Charlie Croker appears to be driving occurs in the brief cut between him collecting his Aston Martin from the garage and its arrival outside the hotel. Throughout the journey to Turin and the entire heist sequence, Croker remains a passenger rather than a driver. Although the film ends with a literal cliffhanger, several alternative endings were actually considered. In a few versions, the mafia rescued the crew only to reclaim the stolen money, setting up the possibility of a sequel. Another ending had the money successfully make it back to England, only for Mr. Bridger to order the gang to return it. During that famous cliff scene, the downdraft from the camera helicopter reportedly caused the bus to sway dangerously, prompting crew members to hang on to the front of it to prevent it from tipping over. When filming began, stunt coordinator Remy Julien was already renowned for his spectacular cinematic stunts. He outlined the key modifications made to the minis, which included fitting sump guards and stripping the interiors of anything that might snag on the stunt driver's clothing. And the rear seats were also removed. None of the 3 mini drivers were professional actors. David Salamone as Dominic in the red Cooper, Barry Cox as Chris in the white Cooper, and Richard Essame as Tony in the blue Cooper had their dialogue dubbed by other actors in post-production. Julien's favourite stunt in the film was the spectacular jump between Fiat's Lingotto buildings. Though not included in the original script, he was convinced it was possible for all 3 minis to make the leap simultaneously. The challenges were immense. The buildings stood 70 feet above the ground, the cars needed to clear a 60-foot gap, and the landing point was 12 feet lower than the takeoff. To ensure safety, the crew positioned a lorry filled with polystyrene in the gap between the buildings. On the day of filming, the extras were genuinely fearful for the drivers' lives, and one local cameraman was reportedly so frightened that he fled the set altogether. When filming commenced, the E-Type Roadster was owned by stunt driver Richard Essame, from whom the production company purchased it. Registered 848 Cry, it was the 12th right-hand drive example to leave the Browns Lane factory in Coventry. Today, many Jaguar enthusiasts find the mafia confrontation scene difficult to watch, and they might be even more dismayed to discover that director Peter Collinson used a sledgehammer on one of the cars to enhance the appearance of damage. Fortunately, 848 Cry survived the shoot and is now owned by renowned motoring author and publisher Philip Porter. Although the Italian mafia served as the main antagonists in the film, in reality they were surprisingly helpful to the filmmakers. They closed off entire sections of Turin to allow for shooting, which led to the genuine traffic jam seen in the movie, along with the authentic reactions from frustrated drivers. In his autobiography, Michael Caine reflected on his experience of working with Benny Hill. He wrote that, as a great admirer of Hill, he had looked forward to working with him and getting to know him. While the experience itself was enjoyable, forming a genuine connection proved impossible. Caine recalled that Hill was always courteous, kind and professional, yet he remained a deeply solitary figure who never socialised with the cast even when they were all staying in the same hotel. Like many comedians Caine had encountered, Hill struck him as a rather sad person beneath the surface. At first, the filmmakers considered installing a treadmill inside the coach and believed the 1964 Bedford Harrington Legionnaire would need to be driven slowly during the autostrada scene. They were also concerned that the tyres might burst once the minis were loaded. However, Remy Julien assured them that precautions were unnecessary, while director Peter Collinson personally waved the cars aboard the Bedford, a task rather surprisingly that no one else on set seemed eager to take on. Both the Lamborghini and one of the 2 Aston Martins used on screen still survive today. And did you notice that the so-called DB4 destroyed by the Mafia was in fact a heavily disguised Lancia Flaminia 3C Cabriolet? You can tell it's not the Aston Martin as the bonnet is hinged from the windscreen instead of the front. Driver David Salamone's father owned Blenheim Motors, a company that supplied the film with the Thames 400E Dormobile, the Land Rover and the Daimler DR450 limousine. Salamone later explained that they did not have a vehicle transporter, so friends, his girlfriend and his mother were enlisted to drive the cars to various locations. Noel Coward's health was reportedly poor during filming, so he frequently relied on his real-life partner Graham Payne to help him learn his lines. As a result, Payne was cast as Mr. Bridger's assistant, allowing him to be on set and assist with any difficulties Coward encountered during production. Noel Coward was in fact the real-life godfather of director Peter Collinson. Collinson also included his wife, Hazel, in the film as the blonde scrubber at the dinner party, something he did in all his films for good luck. In a playful nod, Croker even refers to his rope and grappling hook as Hazel. Michael Caine's iconic line,
"You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off,"
was voted the most memorable line in any film in a UK movie survey. It also became the focus of one of Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon's well-known impression battles in the miniseries and film The Trip. The Italian Job was hardly the most successful British film of 1969. Released on the 5th of June, it ranked as the 14th most popular cinema feature of the year, with Carry On Camping taking the top spot. However, repeated television broadcasts over the years cemented its legacy, and it is now considered one of Michael Caine's most iconic films. And there you have it, folks. You now know a little bit more about The Italian Job. If you enjoyed the video, which I presume you did as you got this far, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos coming to Rocky Watches Movies. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.